and
Michael
you see
Cohen
the
was in
entire
the news.
establishment.
He
I don't know
was
if
in
you
the
saw the
Epstein
New York Times.
files.
I
When
mean,
he
it's
was in
just
the news, we
disgusting. It was like
reported
this
on it. We
coordinated
asked him
hit
questions,
on
just like we would do of
AOC,
anyone else, like we did with
by
Michael
every
Wolff, like
single
we did.
powerful
The news
establishment, and
went.
they
We are moving on.
transcribed her
There's no
and
need to
in a
continue
way
to
they have never
continue.
done
We're not
for
trying to
Donald
cancel Michael
Trump, just to
Cohen.
demean
We're
her,
not trying
and the
to
right wing's running. Hey everyone, thank you all for joining. We have the mighty, the fantastic, the organizer, the activist, the Jess Craven from my home state of California. You know her, you love her. You have to please subscribe to her fantastic Substack, Chop Wood, Carry Water. And we have so much to talk about, but there's so much news. So initially when I reached out to Jess, well, I don't need an excuse to always talk to Jess. I always enjoy it. But I wanted to talk about she reached out also about Hakeem Jeffries' freakout over what I thought was my meatball down the middle question.
Yeah.
But we'll get to that. But
Yeah.
I do also want to talk about, because I think it's related, the great freakout over AOC and these progressive talking about points about income inequality and authoritarianism, right? And you see the entire establishment. I don't know if you saw the New York Times. I mean, it's just disgusting. Almost like this coordinated hit on AOC by every single powerful establishment, and they transcribed her uhs and ums in a way they have never done for Donald Trump, just to
Right.
demean her, and the right wing's running on these two clips, completely ignoring that she's talking about taking on the oligarchy, taking on the 1% income inequality. We'll talk about that. But
Yeah.
before we do, just out of respect, we have to mention the sad news about the death of Jesse Jackson.
Yeah.
And for the young bucks, I wanted to ask you if you could, Jess, talk to us about the importance of Jesse Jackson, because there would be no Obama without Jesse Jackson. And for the young bucks, I just wanted your thoughts about Jesse and his legacy.
Well, yeah. I mean, he ran for wasn't he the first black man ever to run for president? And I remember when he did that. Yeah, I mean, this is a civil rights giant who is, was in politics before any other civil rights leader that I knew of, and pushing and has never stopped. Well, I mean, Shirley Chisholm, I guess, was before him. I guess that's an ignorant statement. Let's just say that he's been in it a long time. He has created a path that, yes, I believe Obama followed and many others after, and just a formidable presence, a man who has lived history, who has been there for every great civil rights moment. It's a huge loss and a very big day to lose him. It's a very sad thing.
And just for in my fact correction, because we like to be factual here, Jesse Jackson was the first black man to mount, if you would say, a major mainstream campaign, winning millions of votes. Before him, I'm learning, Frederick Douglass received a single vote in 1848, and again at the 1888 Republican Convention, and George Edwin Taylor ran as a candidate for the National Negro Liberty Party in 1904. But the first a man to really kind of mount a major campaign to receive millions of votes for presidency was in the 80s, when people thought, a black man as president? That's impossible. That will never happen. And this is Jesse Jackson, who was side by side with Martin Luther King. He talked about, built the Rainbow Coalition, this multicultural coalition, tried to get Democrats around race and class, and people thought it was a pipe dream. And so the fact that, he did this back when, because you and I are of that age, yes, we can remember, like, even when Obama was running, people said, that's impossible. That could never happen. And so Jesse Jackson, really, folks, a civil rights icon, a person who really was in the trenches. And do you remember when Obama actually won? And it was DC, it was cold, and, there's all these people out. And if you all remember, go back and look at this clip. There's a person, he wasn't on the stage, but he was right there in the front row, and there were tears in his eyes, and he was looking with pride. Jesse Jackson.
That was Jesse Jackson. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's one of the situations where I just feel like we have to remember the ancestors who have gone before us, the elders who are still alive and have just passed, right? Everything happens incrementally, right? You go step by step by step by step. You push, you push, you push, you push. And without the pushing, and without the uncomfortable conversations, and without stepping on toes, Oh, it was in Chicago. Thank you, Michael. It was in Chicago.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. Without the stepping on toes, we won't get to where we are, which takes us to this moment. And I do want to talk about AOC before we get to Hakeem Jeffries, right?
Yeah.
We were told AOC, she has no shot. AOC, Puerto Rican, waitress, bartender, whatever. AOC, she's young. She'll be forgotten. That was several years ago, Jess.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
according to the latest polls, AOC is the most popular Democratic candidate according to Dems. I'm connecting the dots because what seemed impossible becomes possible only when you do it with
Yeah.
time and effort.
Yeah. Yeah. She's got, what is it, 88% popularity with voters, left-leaning voters under 30. And we have to remember that when in the last election in 2024, she and Trump got a lot of overlap voters. I hope there's not too much background noise. Someone
No,
is
not at
that.
all.
Okay, good. Yeah, Substack is good at filtering that out. There's this enormous amount of overlap between her voters and Trump voters. This populist message of hers, which the thing is, it's not just a populist message. She believes it. She knows it. She feels it. This is the same reason we love Bernie Sanders, because they're not just saying what people want to hear. They believe this and feel this strongly. And what she did, going to Munich and talking about how the problem of authoritarian creep all around the world is directly related to income inequality. This is it.
That's it.
And yes, this is why people love her, because she is authentic. She gets on Instagram Live and talks to people like she's talking to her best friend in her living room. And because she's smart and she understands the connections here, the Epstein class, and what they're doing to our world, not just our country, but our world. And yeah, I mean, the treatment of her is absurd and ridiculous. And as she just herself said, I was just reading an article in the Times, she's going, I didn't go there to announce that I'm running for president. She basically said, I could give a shit about that right now. That's not what I'm talking about. And I believe her 100% that is not what she went there to do. She went there to talk about global authoritarian creep and global income inequality. And, this is a message that she's got, Bernie's got, and we've got more and more young leaders coming up who are talking about the same thing. And thank God for it, because it is the story. It is the only thing that matters right now.
And, if I may connect it to Jesse Jackson real quick, and how, we all stand on the shoulders of giants. And, I'm at that age now, I have kids, right? So you sit there, and you have kids also. You sit there, and I'm sure I'm assuming, Jess, if not, please correct me. But you sit there and you go, okay, I've got some time left. What do I do with the time that I have to push it forward for the
Sure.
next generation? And then the next generation takes it forward, right? Like, here's the baton. Maybe I was lucky I got to run 50 feet. Maybe my kids, inshallah, can run 100 yards, right? And so with Jesse Jackson, right, it was a grassroots mobilization, a grassroots campaign with this bold idea, right, of the Rainbow Coalition, right? Race and class, uplifting the diversity of America, not being ashamed of it, not being ashamed of black and brown and white, but saying, no, it's all of us together from the grassroots moving up together, right?
Yeah.
Which was very threatening in the 80s, right? When he ran in 84 and 88, right? And then you see Obama, the race class narrative. He didn't do the class part that well, because I think, there was, I've always thought that Obama was a center-left president. He did the best he could. I think he should have been much more bold when it came to the Wall Street and, what was that? Bail them out, right? Too big to fail. But also you see what he had to deal with, and what AOC has to deal with, being a black man. He can't just shoot from the hip, Jess. He can't just be racist like Donald Trump, and he can't just be misogynist, right? Hell, he wore a tan suit and this country lost his goddamn mind, right?
Yeah.
And then you're seeing that with AOC, because she's a woman and she's a woman of color. You're seeing the double standards in real time, where she goes there, exactly what Jess said, for this point. That was her point. So every clip that I saw, Jess, I'm like, man, she knocked it out of the park. But then the right wing has focused on these two flubs. Here are the flubs, folks. She said that Venezuela is above the equator.
Right.
Or like below the equator.
Yes.
How dare she say that? She doesn't know geography. And
Yes.
then she had a 20-second pause or stumble on a question about China and Taiwan. I'm like, and Jess, this is what I said yesterday on Twitter. Right wing's running on it right now. And not just the right wing, they're colluding, it seems, with the establishment and powerful people,
Sure.
especially with this hit job with New York Times.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. And which is so astonishing coming from, the Republican right now sort of centered around a man who literally cannot string a sentence together, who constantly mistakes geographical locations and is the president. We live in a country where I would hazard a guess if you went out on the street and asked 99% of Americans whether Venezuela was north or south of the equator. Well, maybe not 99%, but
I don't know, and I don't care. Like, it's fine. I've learned now. Who cares?
Yeah, exactly. It's a non-story, but especially in this moment, with the level of stupidity and incompetence we have coming out of this administration, and it's more proof, again, the Republicans don't actually care about anything. They don't actually mean anything. They don't care about anything. They have no standards. Oh, we care about someone who gets a geographical fact wrong when it's a Democrat, but we've got the, imbecile in chief over here who is so dementia-addled he can't remember his own name half of the time. He's also accused of massive, massive sex crimes, all this other stuff, but we don't care about that. But AOC, God forbid, she go oversee and not, be pin perfect every single second. And at a certain point, it's exhausting until you just go, yeah, this is what they're going to do. They're breathtaking hypocrites and they don't even care. So yeah, go do your thing.
And I think we have to get to that point now, Jess. And I do want to ask you, this is what I wrote yesterday. I'm glad it went kind of viral on Twitter. Trump, who is nearly 80 and is the president, thinks climate change is a hoax. It's not. Thinks mail-in voting isn't legal. It is. And says he won the 2020 election. He lost. He's also a criminal who partied with a pedophile. Right-wing media and the GOP see him as their king and daddy. AOC, who is not running for president and never made herself out to be a foreign policy expert, is being called unpresidential for stumbling on Taiwan, even though she was in Munich to warn about authoritarianism. The guardians of the pedophiles aren't a serious party.
Yeah.
And going back to Jackson, Obama, Mamdani, AOC, you see the double standards at play, folks. You see New York Times even lending into it. You see David Weigel, who was formerly at the Washington Post. Oh my God, I can't believe AOC messed up. This horse race, they can't change. They can't evolve. It's like the dog from Up. They're not agile. They're still stuck, Jess, in 10 politics, racehorse politics. And I'm sitting there listening to this and I'm like, no one gives a shit. Yeah. I guarantee you this will only help her with the base because they're going to concentrate on the income inequality. They're going to concentrate on her going against a oligarchy. I guarantee you ask Democrats, do you care that she stumbled on that question about Taiwan? They're like, no, I don't give a shit. Do you care that you didn't know Venezuela was above or below the equator? Like, bro, I don't even know where Venezuela is. No, I don't. Yeah. I don't think they care. And the fact that they're fixated on this, the right wing and the establishment, to me proves, Jess, that the entire establishment class, I might as well even say the Epstein class, which includes some Democrats, it shows how out of touch they are with the people. That's my take. I hope I'm right.
No, you're 100% right. And I guarantee you, yes, as you said, nobody would care when voting. All voters want right now is somebody they feel like is actually going to fight for them. Now, a lot of voters made a terrible error and thought that Donald Trump was that person. You could argue that they were simply racist, whatever the explanations are. They're complicated in some cases, not complicated in others, but what they want is authenticity. What they want is an authentic caring. What they want is outrage and someone who's willing to attack the billionaire class, the Epstein class. At that point, we know that person is not Trump now. Trump is not only not attacking the Epstein class, he is the Epstein class and he is covering up for the Epstein class. Do you think voters give a shit about where, in relation to the equator, Venezuela is when we are facing across the board economic crisis? And by the way, Peter Navarro goes on Fox News yesterday. I don't know if you saw this clip. I just made a video about it. He said, I don't understand what is the matter with press and Democrats and everybody saying our economy is perfect. Our economy is perfect. Look at the data. I don't understand why people are complaining. Trump's economy is perfect. A+, best economy since, I don't know what he said, 2001. They think people are so stupid. They are so used to being able to say these things and people will just accept it. Like robots. Okay, the economy's perfect. But people are not there anymore. They're feeling this. They're feeling what AOC is saying. So it doesn't matter about little facts on the sidelines that are not relevant to the conversation, don't matter. She feels what we are feeling, and we feel that she feels it. And that is what matters. It's so insulting to watch the way the Republican Party more and more just confronts facts with lies and then just assumes that their voters are too stupid to figure it out. And frankly, some of them are. But
it's not just the Republic. I feel like it's the entire establishment. By the establishment, I mean those in power, right? It's the big and you ain't in it. The way they feel like the rest of us are so stupid, and they still retain this type of superiority where they'll dictate to us what should matter and what shouldn't. And what I've been seeing, Jess, for the past 10 years, and I think I said this also yesterday in another tweet, just thinking about this, right? This to me is the flip side of the Trump coin. And what do I mean by that? In 2016, people are like, it's impossible. Trump is never going to become president. Yada, 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 yada. And, he's a sick, vulgarian pig. He's an idiot. And people didn't care because I know people might not like hearing this. Yes, it's all bullshit. Yes, he's terrible. Yes, he has a right-wing machine behind him. But the bullshit message that he ran on was honestly anti-establishment. I'm an outsider. I'm not a politician. I'm going to be a wrecking ball. And then, if you all remember, folks, Bernie was the counterweight to that. And so a lot of people who voted for Trump also supported Bernie. Yeah. And you see in 2024, a lot of people who voted for Trump also voted for AOC. You saw that a lot of people who voted for Trump also voted for Mamdani. So what I'm seeing is the flip, meaning that these people still don't understand that the people want someone, like you said, who's authentic, who's sincere, who's passionate, and who runs anti the Epstein class, anti the establishment, anti the oligarchy. And that is what's so threatening about the AOCs and the Bernies and the Mamdanis. That's why my take on this has been, Jess, and I always tell people, believe the evidence of your eyes and ears. Now let's talk about the Democrats. I'm old enough, Jess, to remember that in the year 2025, which seems like 100 years ago, when Zohran Mamdani was ascending, and all the polls had him as the guy, and the wind was and still is behind his back, if I were a Democrat, I would say, you know what? Big tent. I hear this a lot. I'll include him. Instead, I am old enough to remember, Jess, that the Democratic establishment through Bill Clinton, Larry Summers, Michael Bloomberg, Clyburn, the New York Times, AIPAC, and all the money against Mamdani and actually lifted up Andrew Cuomo.
Yeah.
And they still lost.
Yeah.
And I remember, I'm old enough, Jess, that Donald Trump has embraced Mamdani sooner and more enthusiastically than Schumer, Gillibrand, and Hakeem Jeffries. Did I miss something in the past 6 months?
No. And it's stunning. And I mean, we've talked about this many times. I have expressed this to Schumer's face. I have been honest and had the opportunity to tell him directly, like, that was the stupidest thing I've ever seen a Democratic leader do. Why? It doesn't matter. He doesn't care what I think, but I did tell him.
He doesn't care.
But yeah, it is. And I guess we can take some solace from the fact that we keep seeing these examples with Mamdani, with AOC, with the New Jersey, the woman who just won in New Jersey. Her name is going out of my head right now, but the progressive candidate there.
Representative Mejia, Annalena Mejia.
Thank you. All of these we're seeing over and over again. And I've seen it here in Los Angeles. I'll tell you a little anecdote. It's quick. But a few years ago, I had a Democratic city council member. His name was Gil Cedillo. He'd been in office for a long time. He was establishment Dem, total machine Dem, had started out kind of good, but like for a long time had done nothing. Bad, did nothing for his constituents. And we got a progressive challenger who came along, Eunices Hernandez, fantastic. And all of the smart journalists, everybody who followed politics in LA was like, she has no chance. She has no chance. The Los Angeles County Democratic Party did everything they could to quash her candidacy. The state party wouldn't endorse her, all that stuff. I knocked doors for her, I am proud to say. She is my councilwoman today.
Wow.
She won that race. And same thing happened with Nithya Raman here, who also won her race. Over and over again, across the country, we see progressive candidates get into races, people get excited, people start knocking doors, and it doesn't matter how much fucking money they throw at their establishment, machine candidate, we can beat them. And the more people's eyes open to this, AIPAC has become the kiss of death, quite frankly. You take AIPAC money and you're done. Chuck Schumer, Nancy Pelosi, they have sort of electorally become the kiss of death. The kindest thing any of them can do for a candidate is to not endorse them at this point. Jeffries, too. So we're having this sort of seismic shift. They're the last ones to figure it out. We can all see it.
They haven't figured it out. Kill me.
Of course not, because they surround themselves with people, with yes men. They surround themselves with people who are like, you're great, you're great. And consultants who just keep telling them, oh, don't say abolish ICE. It sounds too much like defund the police. I mean, these people who never get outside of their little DC rooms, and so they just don't understand what is happening, but we do because we have proof. This is empirical. This is not just me wishing this were the case. AOC won. Ayanna Pressley won. We have, candidates all over the country. Mamdani winning races, no matter how much money you throw against them, because Americans are done with moneyed candidates, quite frankly. I mean,
and to that point, if you see some candidates, right, well, we're told. See, this is why the disconnect comes. I'm very confident, tying it to AOC, that their attacks, the right wing's attacks, New York Times attacks, Washington Post attacks, Semaphores attacks, people don't give a shit, right? The disconnect. Just like we are being told by the Democratic establishment, you can't say abolish ICE. Because listen, a couple of years ago, Jess, you said defund the police and it didn't work. And then the right wing's going to be angry at us, so we can't say it. You mentioned Anna Mejia, right? I think it brings two things together and it perfectly sets up the Hakeem Jeffries interview. Anna Mejia, we've talked about it on the left for people who don't know. AIPAC spends $2.3 million to attack center-left Democratic candidate that they thought would win in New Jersey's 11th district. This is Governor Mikey Sherrill's district, right? So Mikey Sherrill became governor. So now there's the race upcoming. It's a special election. So they thought, oh, wow, Tom actually might win. Because Tom, who is pro-Israel, just drifted a little away from AIPAC talking points. So AIPAC decided
he literally just said we should put qualifications on our funding of Israel. Like maybe they should not be allowed to commit genocide. They can't just keep bombing children. That's all he said. So anyway, proceed.
So thank you. That's very much all he said. They spent $2.3 million to bring him down and put their puppet candidate, right? And they're like, this will help the puppet candidate. Right. Instead, what happens, and Jess, we have to enjoy this. Sometimes I'll just take a slow roll. Just chef's kiss.
Yeah.
Instead, it doesn't help their preferred candidate, progressive Anna Mejia, Workers' Families Party organizer, proudly the most pro-Palestinian candidate, and also proudly abolish ICE.
Yes.
Wins. She wins. And Tom Malinowski, then I don't know if you saw his comment, I think it was 2 days ago, where he officially said, okay, she won. Yeah. And then he said, I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure that any candidate who is overtly, and then he also said that surreptitiously funded by AIPAC doesn't win. So they
good for him. Yeah.
Radicalized Malinowski, right? So Hakeem Jeffries, you saw this, you responded to me. Thank you so much. I'm glad you saw it. I want to just set this up real quick for you, just because you might not know. Joyanne asks me to co-host with her on Friday.
Yeah.
Joyanne is in Chicago. And her producers say, listen, she's in Chicago. She's in a church before she gives a speech. We don't know if the internet's good. So just come on for the first hour. Tiffany's on for the second hour. Worst case scenario, if the internet gets cut, we know you could take over and step in. I said, great. Hakeem Jeffries is on. I'm like, awesome. Representative Jay Paul's on. I'm like, great. Right. And I'm like, I remember all I said was, does Hakeem Jeffries' team know me? And they're like, I don't know. He said yes. I'm like, all right. So all I said was, I really want to ask him about ICE. And Joy said, no, that's great. We're going to talk about the DHS, funding, and, ask him whatever you want. That's it. There was no coordinated plan. There was no good cop, bad cop, nothing. I have no idea what Joy's going to ask. All I know, she goes, I'm going to ask him about DHS and funding. I'm like, great. Joy, if anyone who's seen that clip, I think it was 3 times she asked him very nicely about abolish ICE. 3 times.
Yeah.
Then I think, Jess, and I want to ask but I just want to let you know where my mind was. There was no gotcha. I didn't even give him a softball, Jess. I thought I gave him a spicy, tasty, warm meatball hand-delivered on a plate. And then you saw his response. Now, your response to what Hakeem Jeffries said.
I loved that he was just like, I didn't understand one word that you just said. I was like, what? What? Yeah, and then he really lost it. And this is the thing, is that these people are so protected. Like, it is surprising to me that you got that question in at all, because they really do protect people like him from people like you and people like me who they know will say things like that. But you even more so, you've been so outspoken about this. You have a huge platform, and he ended up in a situation that he probably did not anticipate, and he got mad about it. He got mad that he was being called out, and he's mad that he is on the unpopular end of basically every argument right now, but especially this one. And he's mad that I've seen him. I also saw Adam Schiff do sort of a similar thing. They've got this sort of set of talking points they break out right now. Well, right now we're focused on getting this thing passed, which, like, look, we all understand that you can't abolish ICE right now. It is so not difficult to say, yes, I do support abolishing ICE 100% and replacing it with an entirely new agency that is equipped to do this job in a compassionate, just manner, as part of a larger immigration reform package, which we are 40 years overdue in passing. In the meantime, being in the minority, we can't do that, and we are going to demand the next best thing, which is blah, blah, blah. That's not hard, right?
I was expecting him to say that. I was honestly, Jess, I was expecting him to say, I'm not for abolish ICE. This is my reason. Let me explain to Democrats why I do not, whatever verb you want to use, abolish, defund. Instead, this is what we're planning to do. But I think what's very instructive, going back to our points about how they're so disconnected, and the arrogance is, he said, I don't even have to explain it to you.
Yeah.
I don't even have to connect the dots.
Yeah.
Who the hell are you?
Yeah.
Shut your mouth. I'm going to go in this word salad and look like an AI robot.
Yeah.
And run circles. And, you know, when I was thinking about the right wing, Donald Trump says verbal diarrhea, then the right wing ecosystem has to massage it, and then they sell it to their base. But they at least try to sell it to their base. I mean, I don't understand, Jess. Like, what am I missing? Because the more and more I think about it, and then, you know, more and more people have played that clip and commented on it. He didn't even make sense. If he didn't communicate, he wasn't charismatic, he wasn't clear, he literally didn't stand for anything. And how do you win? What's the mindset here? Because here's ICE, and I gave him the folks. I swear to God, I massaged it for him. I spent a minute. Wind is behind your back. 65% of Americans disfavor ICE. A plurality of Americans want to abolish ICE, right? $38 billion to convert warehouses into concentration camps. They've killed 8 people. Like, and all he said was, we're going to rein it in. He didn't even explain how they're going to rein it in, Jess.
Right. Well, people keep saying he was thrown or he was caught off guard, but come on. You're the minority leader of the House, and you're caught off guard by a question about abolishing ICE. That alone shows how out of touch you are with your base. And I keep trying to, in any little moment I get, to communicate this to Democratic leadership. This is all we're talking about. You come out here and you talk about a bill that you're passing. Okay, you passed a bill to make the pride flag, you know, a legal U.S. federal flag. That's great. It doesn't actually really help trans people or queer people in any meaningful way, but that's fine. But, like, that is a symbolic bill. We are dealing with, setting aside actual attacks on trans people and LGBTQ people, but we're like in an existential crisis here with ICE, and you guys are just kind of like, you're going and talking about like a bridge you're building somewhere. I don't know. I mean, the bridge in Michigan, that's important. That's a separate conversation. But it's really alarming, and it really does show they are so insulated from actual popular opinion. And I see polling all day, Waj. You do too. We read polling. I see what the polling says about immigration and ICE right now. I don't know if they don't read it, they don't internalize it, or they just think, I'm so invested in keeping my position, and that means I must stay safe. That means I must stay in the middle. And it's just, it doesn't work on any level. It is preposterous. We're in a fucking crisis. We're in a crisis. Act like it.
I think that's the key thing, is that they are failing to meet the moment in many ways. But like you said, it's like they don't even act, they don't even perform, right? That they are in the middle of a crisis. Because like you said, for many people in LA, you're there, we're going to talk about what ICE is doing. In Minneapolis, this is an existential crisis. Like ICE is going to schools, folks. ICE is using kids as bait. ICE has detained citizens. ICE has detained legal immigrants. There's a concentration camp in Dili. We'll talk about what's happening. We just found out yesterday. I was just disturbed the hell out of me. And you wrote about this. Actually, I do want to talk about this because it connects. Can you talk to us about the 2-month-old Juan Nicholas? I mean, speaking about the existential crisis.
Yeah, well, there's a lot going on with the child detention in general, and I've been trying to kind of make videos about it and draw attention to it. There's a lot of stuff going on, but there are hundreds of children in ICE detention right now in 2 family detention centers in Texas, Dilley being one of them. And these places are truly hellholes. Like, they're hellholes for everybody, but the idea that children are in them it's unconscionable. They are kept freezing cold. They do not turn the lights off ever. The food is inedible. The water is literally non-potable. Like, the water makes people sick. There are no toys. The guards are abusive. It goes on and on and on. There is a 2-month-old baby in there. His name is Juan Nicholas. His mother, they detained his mother and brought the baby with. And this baby is now sick. He has been sick for 3 weeks. He has been throwing up. He is congested. He's aspirating phlegm into his lungs. This is all, by the way, being diagnosed by doctors watching what's happening on social media because he had not seen a doctor at all until last night. He was finally rushed to the emergency room. And I believe he was taken to the emergency room because people are calling and calling and calling and calling. And there is a public outcry. And they finally are realizing we probably shouldn't let this baby die on our watch. That may be bad for our PR. And so they diagnosed him with bronchitis. He is already back in Dilley. It's not just him. There are hundreds of children. What is it? It's a fucking outrage. And it's an outrage coming from the party of life and the party of children. It goes back to this hypocrisy that they don't even care about. They don't even care. They can, with no problem, say out of one side of their mouth, we are the party of life. And out of the other side of their mouth, we're locking a 2-month-old up in jail and we're not going to give him doctors. And we're also protecting pedophiles. No problem. Those 2 things can be true. No problem. It really is incumbent upon their voters to finally wake the fuck up. You can't. We're all awake. But yeah, this is what's happening. They are, and I was on a Substack Live yesterday with Anat Shenker-Osorio. I don't know if you know who she is. She's a big messaging person.
Also.
Oh, okay, yeah. So, she was talking about how the common thread between ICE and Epstein and all of it is this abuse, abduction, and assault of children.
That's right.
And that is the common thread across everything with this administration, the abuse, assault, and abduction of children. How can you stand with a party that is doing that and allowing children to die? I don't get it. I don't, but that's where we are.
You mentioned the existential crisis, right? That's what we're dealing with. Existential crisis where ICE is literally killing people.
Yeah.
Can't get more existential than that, folks. Life or death. And you want an opposition party to emerge and match the moment in the sense of the fury and the passion. And the fact that they're incapable of doing it, because he told me we have to rein them in. And I think what really pissed him off is my final question to him after the massaged, nice, kind meatball I gave to him was, how can you, how do you make the case to the American people that their taxpayer dollars should pay for this lawless, murderous agency, right? I don't understand what you're saying. I'm like, I spoke English. And the fact is because they're running scared. They're running scared, and someone told them that defund the police didn't work a few years ago, and look at the polls, it's not working, and we don't want to be seen extreme. So instead of, like you said, we won't stand for anything. We'll just do word salad. We'll play it safe. And what worries me, Jess, is now that they've seen that Trump is so bad, right, that they're winning these special elections. It's not because folks, in Texas, these Latino independent voters haven't gone Democrat. They're still Republican independent. So it's not like the Democrats have really won them over. They just hate Trump. So what I'm seeing is a repeat of the same mistake for the past 10 years. and he even Jeffries, if you listen to him, he kind of said this in our interview with me and Joy. How can anyone say we're the same as the Republicans and Trump? Basically, we're not that guy. We're going to play possum, as James Carville told us, and then roll into the victory. And then once we get into the end zone, we'll unfurl ourselves and spike the football without actually promising any change.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's true. I don't know what to do to get their self-awareness up. It's like something Schumer said to me when I was telling him he needed to step down. He said, "What? This was just after the November elections, but look how well we just did in the elections. That was under my leadership." How do you explain to somebody like that that was despite your leadership, not because of your leadership? That Democrats are doing right well because right now we are in an existential crisis and people are going to vote for Democrats because Trump is an existential threat. And so they will vote for a ham sandwich over Trump. But we have got to be more than a ham sandwich. We cannot be just the we're not Trump. And you've got people like AOC and Mamdani and all of these other Maxwell Frost, all these other progressive leaders who have got a fucking platform that Americans love, that Americans agree with. And they're going, oh, look out. They're too extreme. Oh, look out. They're going to ruin our prospects in 2026. It's like, no, they're not going to ruin our prospects. You are. But
no, but you mentioned this. I'm going to share a story with you because I haven't shared this publicly. I'll hide the name and I'll tell you the name on text afterwards.
okay.
Okay. So you spoke about, the Schumers and the Pelosi's. The best thing they could do is not endorse anyone, right? Kiss of death, because things have changed. Thank you, Pelosi and Schumer, for your service.
Yes.
You're not built for this fight. You're not made for this moment. I don't know if you saw about 2 days ago. I think it was 2 days ago. Axios reported that Nancy Pelosi is apparently going to go all in for Gavin Newsom, and she's going to throw her weight in for Gavin Newsom. And I saw that Axios post, and I quote tweeted it and said, "I'll do that. I'll do everything to stop it." And the reason for it is I've been following Gavin Newsom. I'm from California. He promises a lot. He says a lot of pretty things. You and I have talked about him in the fact that he platformed Steve Bannon and Charlie Kirk and agreed with them through transgender kids under the bus. He said in December, "Oh, should we tax the wealthy?" which is a very popular. What did he say? They're part of the big tent. When he interviewed Ben Shapiro, I don't agree that Israel's committing a genocide. I think you're right. I think you're right. And then also when it comes to, ISIS doing state-sponsored terrorism, that's unfair. Yeah, that is unfair, right? So I said this. I said, then I'll do everything to stop him. In another, I think it was Blue Sky, I articulated. I did one on Twitter, and on Blue Sky, I explained why. I said, unless he changes radically on these positions, he's not the one. Someone very close and high up in the Democratic Party, the former administration, messaged me like the hall monitor. It said, "Friend, why did you," I don't think I'm friends with them, but okay. "Friend, why did you post this? We should wait for it. Give him grace. He hasn't even announced his run. I will support him if it's between him and Donald Trump."
Yes.
Yes. Your response.
Yeah, I almost wonder if the person who sent you that message is the same person who has not invited me to a certain very high-level messaging meeting for 2 years because I said something critical about Nancy Pelosi on a group thread. And I found out recently that I had been blacklisted because of it. Yeah, there is a definite hall monitor mentality. There is a definite Democrats need to stop the circular, firing squad. We need unity right now. We can't criticize each other. Bullshit. That's exactly what a primary is for. And obviously, if Gavin Newsom were running against someone, not Trump, because Trump can't run for a third term. Stop saying he can. But if Gavin Newsom were running against a Republican, sure, we would all vote for Gavin Newsom, I'm assuming. I mean, I'm not self-destructive. I want to live in a functioning world. But yeah, this is exactly the time to speak out and to say that this guy is not, we do not want that guy as our president. That is not our best choice. He is a corporate Democrat. He used to date, what's her name? I know I say this every time.
Kimberly
Guilfoyle. I mean, come on, judgment. Sorry. Sorry, I don't mean to diss people's girlfriends. It's probably a little outside of the...
It's not as good. It's because she became batshit MAGA. So
well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, it's just like, and that's the thing, is that these are opportunistic people. These are transactional people. And that's what I think Americans are really sensing are the transactional people and the non-transactional people. Now, Trump is extremely transactional, so there's really a blind spot there. But in general, I think that the politician who is kind of inherently often a transactional person is like repellent to people right now.
Yeah.
People want somebody who doesn't just feel like they're angling for their next promotion, their next step up the ladder. And I think that's why AOC got so upset, to circle back to Munich, is because she's like, for fuck's sake, I am actually not trying to get something for myself here. I am literally here to deliver a message that needs to be delivered, and all you care about is my transactionalism, whether I'm trying to get up the ladder. And it is really frustrating because it's clear she's not that person. But that's the person people are used to.
Horse race politics, transaction. Yep. And, I was we were talking about yesterday about the messaging and the messaging disconnect. And she said something which you said, I think, and something that I felt, and I think most people watching is she's done the research and the data and the studies. She's a messenger, folks. She does messaging and framing, and she actually does the work behind it, what messages stick and work and why. But she said what people are looking for is they're looking for someone who stands for something.
Yes.
Does this person actually have a plan? Does this person actually have a policy agenda? I might not agree with everything, but at least this person is standing for this. And are they articulating it and fighting for it with sincerity and passion and authenticity? Yep. Those are the two ingredients. And in the New York Times, when she did the New York Times quoted her, she said 250 focus groups. They asked them, okay, if there were animals, how would you, what animal would best describe Republican? And they said like lion, tiger, a shark, or I said that what animal would describe the Democrats? She said, and they said deer in headlights, sloth, timid, right? And now what you're seeing is exactly what that Hakeem Jeffries interview. We won't stand for anything.
Yeah.
We won't take a risk, and we will, like a sloth, get to the end zone and we'll spike the ball. What do you stand for? And ultimately, what she said, it seems like they want to win for the sake of winning. Vote for me because I've earned it. Vote for me because I deserve it. And I think what the last 10 years, especially what with Zoran has shown me, people are done. I don't think it's going to work. I don't think. And if it does work, Jess, my fear is if we have free and fair elections, I don't know if we will, inshallah. Suppose Democrats win by virtue of Trump being horrible. Newsom slots in. I have not seen anything transformational. He's not going to tax the billionaires. No. He still is going to take money from AIPAC. He's perfectly fine with Israel's genocide. He takes money. He hasn't spoken out against Peter Thiel and all these people because he takes money from them. Yeah. We know the new group by Sherry Bustos has started, which is about deregulation and pro-growth. By the way, folks, ex-DCCC chair, ex-Democratic representative. She's a lobbyist. Guess who her clients are? Oracle and OpenAI.
Yeah, that's not good. Not good.
So suppose even if they win, Jess, suppose Newsom wins, assuming we have free and fair elections. My fear is 2032 comes around, we're going to have our first Nazi America first president.
Because
Newsom is going to repeat the mistakes of 10 years. There's going to be no transformation.
Right.
It's status quo. AI crypto bubble is going to burst. They're going to say too big to fail. Then what I've been paying attention to with Steve Bannon, Candace Owens, Tucker Carlson, and a few others, they're outflanking Democrats. They're going to on the left of AI. Steve Bannon has been warning about was Marjorie Taylor Greene. They're going to the further left on Israel and genocide, and they're going to go further to the left on the elites. And my fear is it'll swing back, and it reminds me of early 30s Nazi Germany, which is exactly what happened in Nazi Germany. Because then you had all the elites say, everything's fine, don't worry. And the Nazis are like, everything's not fine. We're weak. We're being beat up by these elitists. They're cowards. They haven't changed everything. Pride, restoration, and voila.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think that is a possible scenario. I do think that at this point we need not just a president, because, a president alone can't do anything. We need to sweep in an entire wave of majorities, super majorities in both chambers who are willing to sort of have FDR in their hearts.
Yes,
who are thinking big, who have Francis Perkins in their hearts, who are thinking big, sweeping change, how to solve long-standing, deep inequality problems. And those people exist. They're out there. And I guarantee you that Gavin Newsom is not going to put them in his administration. He's just not. He's not going to have Francis Perkins as his Secretary of Labor. We need people who are willing to go in there and absolutely clean house, transform. We need words like transformation being invoked constantly. And he is democratic status quo. So yes, we will have no more attacks on abortion rights, questionable protections for trans people. He doesn't seem to care about them. And maybe some climate moves, but not that many, because that gets into his big utilities who are giving him a lot of money. So, I mean, he's been my governor, just like yours. I've seen him tank half of the amazing climate bills that we passed in the California legislature because he's in the pocket of PG&E. So that's who he is. I'm not saying he hasn't done some amazing stuff. He stood up to Trump in a moment where we desperately needed someone to do that. We have to be able to see gray areas. He's not a terrible person, but he is definitely not the person I want leading our country. He is a full-on in bed with the bros, in bed with the big corporations, and we need someone who has sworn off of those. We in a way, we really need a radical. And it's not radical to say I don't want to be in bed with big money of any kind, but it feels radical now because that's the moment that we're in. But that's what we need.
We need a New Deal FDR type of president.
Yeah.
And they're not now they've seen, I don't know if you've seen it, but like Schumer and others are like, oh, affordability. Let's just keep saying it.
Yeah,
but if you pay attention, there's no specifics. They don't offer any specifics.
No.
And then they're like, oh, accountability. Yeah, accountability. No specifics.
No.
And I think this is going to be a much bigger story, especially in the next 6 months to a year. So I want to bring it back. And I just want to read this again, folks, because I just want you to pay attention to it. This came out 9 days ago. I mentioned it. I'm just going to read this Axios piece, okay? Just to delete. Ezra Klein's abundance movement is getting some backup. A new political group is urging Democrats to embrace, quote, pro-growth deregulatory policies with an eye towards 2028. Known as Next American Era, the group is the latest effort by moderate Democrats to shape national politics and expand their influence at a time when progressives in the party are making an aggressive push for more power. Former Illinois Representative Sherry Bustos, ex-chair of the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee, will serve as president. The group describes itself, Jess, as a, quote, hub for center-left policy and advocacy. And Bustos said it will air issues-focused ads during the midterm and 2028 presidential campaign, but it won't endorse candidates. And as I said before, Sherry Bustos is a lobbyist. Her clients include Sam Altman's OpenAI and Larry Ellison's Oracle.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm back.
You're back.
Yeah. I'm trying to plug in my charger on my phone while talking to you. Yeah, there it is. Okay. Yeah, no, it is, don't even get me started. That entire thing gives me shudders of fear, and that is not the direction we need to go in. I don't trust her, and I haven't in a long time. I don't trust any of the people who are associated with this project. And if we needed, like, if center-left were going to save us, we've had center-left. We've had Bill Clinton. We've had Obama. We've had many center-left presidents. They have really contributed some quite disastrous policies that have done nothing but alienate the center of the country and our manufacturing sector. You know, NAFTA was under Bill Clinton. That was a fucking disaster, right? Obama forgave the banks and let them, and I don't mean to diss them, both valuable presidents in some ways. I mean, mostly Obama, but Clinton, I don't know. At this point, I'm pretty sour on him. But this doesn't work to end income inequality. It does not make a difference. It still will always default to helping big money interests.
There you go.
And it does not solve our problems. So, like, the one thing that has not been tried since FDR is real progressive politics. And guess what? FDR put the most popular policies in place. FDR and then Lyndon Johnson, the ones that we still rely on, the ones without which we would be dying in vast numbers under these administrations. And those were all by Democrats, progressive Democrats with sweeping visions who came in and said, everything's broken. I'm going to fix it. And it's got to be big.
That's right.
And that's what we need.
And you also, FDR, remember, folks, FDR threatened the Supreme Court. He said, "Oh, okay, you're going to block my New Deal? I think it's time to expand the Supreme Court. There's nothing in the Constitution that's," and then they're like, "Whoa, whoa, 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 okay, 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 okay."
Yeah.
The reason why we're mentioning this, folks, is I don't think people have paid enough attention to, and I think it's deliberate, to AI, the threats of AI. The U.S. economy right now is being inflated, if you will, superficially, by essentially just like 11 companies. If you looked at the Super Bowl, folks, what were most of the ads? Crypto, AI, gambling, weight loss. Okay. If you've seen with Oracle, which is the client, right, for Sherry Bustos, Oracle, the banks wouldn't lend its money to expand its AI facilities. So Oracle just fired thousands of employees to free up money for their AI facilities. Okay. I'm telling you all, people aren't paying attention to this. This bubble is going to burst.
Yeah.
Once it bursts, it'll be a Democrat who will say it's too big to fail. And I just want you all to pay attention with Steve Bannon and these other folks. I know you all underestimate them. They're running further to the left of Democrats and warning about AI. So how can someone bring in transformational change to income inequality if they are being paid off by AI and the oligarchs who are increasing income inequality?
Yeah.
I just want to like raise the alarm. It's going to be the world's worst I told you so, Jess, but I just want to do my part. Who knows what's going to happen? Can I ask you this question?
Yeah.
I mean, it's early, but I'm not asking you like, oh, who should run, but who right now within the Democrats is espousing a vision of change that you think we should champion?
That's a really good question. I would say, I mean, as far as personally, my vision, like what I would like to see, AOC would be the only one. Now, there are a couple of candidates I would like to hear more from. I'm not sure Wes Moore is going to be the one because he's already made a couple of choices I really disagree with, but whatever. Open to hearing more. Andy Beshear in Kentucky. I'm really interested in hearing more from him. He has managed to thread a needle in a state that is overwhelmingly Republican, and he's got the highest approval rating of any Democratic governor in the country. He's been great on trans issues. My friend Charlotte Clymer, who is like, I trust her word as gold on these matters. She loves him. I would be really interested to hear more from him. I just don't know enough about him. But I am also of the mind that we don't yet know everybody who's going to run. There's a lot of churn that's going to happen in the next year. So I'm cautiously optimistic that someone might emerge who we're not even thinking about yet. I don't want somebody who's running for president for 4 years. God damn, it's like I want someone who's out there busy right now helping, working to stop ICE or doing something in a state legislature that's below the radar, but that maybe comes up and goes, okay, now's my time.
Mark Kelly apparently threw his hat in the ring yesterday. What's your thoughts about him?
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah.
I mean, okay, here's the thing. I'm not super enthusiastic about anybody who's running so far, but it doesn't matter. I'll throw down for whoever is the Democratic candidate in the end. But I will be more interested in who we have in Congress at that time, how big our majorities are, and also who they tap for cabinet, who they tap for labor secretary, who they tap for trade commission. Are we going to get a Lena Khan? Are we going to get a Julie Su? People don't pay attention to these things, but these are the people making the policy. And
That's
a good president like Biden, who was really good in most ways, other than his foreign policy sucked, but
Merrick Garland.
And Merrick Garland, horrible, horrible choice. Right, of course, he made terrible, terrible, terrible choices. But his cabinet, other than Merrick Garland, was, I don't know if that's cabinet position, but phenomenal. And doing real work to help real people, which he's never been heralded for. So hopefully someday he gets credit for that. But a president is more than a president. It's an administration. It's their cabinet members. It's who they do elect to be the attorney general. We want someone like, I don't know, Jack Smith, maybe, who comes in on day one and just starts the prosecutions, or I don't know who, someone who is pissed and ready to, exact vengeance. But so I don't know. Right now, I am really focused on the midterms because we got to win those, and presidency will come. But at the moment, we got to win the midterms.
And Donald Trump's going to cheat, folks. The Republicans are going to cheat. They've seen the numbers. They know if, inshallah, we have free and fair elections, if they're going to get shellacked in a Oh my gosh, in the House. But now, folks, if you've been paying attention, every other day, more and more polls are coming out and more leaks are coming out. They're afraid of losing the Senate.
Yeah.
And not only that, because they did so much criminal shit, they're afraid of impeachments and arrests. Well, let's see if we actually have accountability. I think one thing I'll say, and I'll let you go, Jess. Thank you for spending the time. We have 2,500 people watching. I'm talking to activist organizer Jess Craven, Chop Wood, Carry Water. For those who joined us, we started off just giving our respects to Jesse Jackson, a monumental titan of civil rights, a man who ran for president in 84, 88. Many people who follow politics say if Jesse Jackson did not run with the grassroots campaign, Rainbow Coalition, there would be no Barack Obama, right? He kind of made people imagine, what if? And he just died, an amazing legacy. We talked about AOC in Munich and the great Freakout, and how the Freakout is an establishment freakout because of her message. What's her message? Take on the oligarchy, income inequality. And then we talked about, of course, Hakeem Jeffries, who was incapable of answering any questions when I gave him layups, and what the Democratic Party needs to do. And what they need to do is fight for something. So there's 2 years, Jess. And, this is where I just want to say, I want them to be afraid a little bit, because someone told me yesterday the reason why this person, who I'll text you, the person who reached out to me, why they all of a sudden played hall monitor, is Hassan Piker, who they want to like ignore, but is very, very influential.
Yeah.
Progressive social media Twitch guy.
Yeah.
He was on the Jen Welsh and the Pumps podcast. I've had it. And he said, yeah, I won't nominate, I won't support Gavin. Suppose it's Gavin versus Trump in 2028, even though this mother effer can't run. I won't support him until I see where he stands on certain issues. And that went viral. And so they're like, whoa. What does that mean? So they've been sending out their scouts. And then my Hakeem Jeffries thing went slightly viral, which means no Democrat will ever talk to me again. I think, Jess, I think they should be afraid of us. I think, we should say, we'll wait to see. We'll wait to see. Because I think what they're counting on, Jess, is at the end of the day, if it's Gavin and Mark or whatever versus Trump, Jess and Watch will vote for us. Who gives a shit? What's your response to those people? Because I know the Democratic Party is counting on putting us in a headlock.
Well, listen, I'm not going to pretend that I would not. I'm going to vote for the Democrat if it's a matchup between a Democrat and a MAGA. Just because I have a trans kid, it's not a joke to me. I can't afford to throw people under the bus because I don't like the candidate. And I have a very strong opinions about people who, stayed home or vote Jill Stein because their candidate doesn't live up to their qualifications. Well, people are dying in detention centers because of that choice. I would never do that. I'm not going to throw black and brown people and trans people under the bus because I don't like the Democrat. Of course, I'll vote for the Democrat because I want to keep as many people safe as possible. However, I will fight like crazy to not have Newsom be our candidate. This is what primaries are for. And ultimately, we're a giant tent. Everybody who's not MAGA is under our tent right now, unfortunately or fortunately. I like the Working Families Party. I will probably watch and see who they are behind. But ultimately, this is why we have primaries. We have primaries to hash out who we would like to see in that presidential nomination spot. I like Elizabeth Warren. She's another one I would love to see run again. I know she's quite a bit older, but that is a woman who has never, ever, ever stopped fighting for working people. That is my top qualification. So, but I am not a purist who will not vote for a Democrat. I think again, that's just really, I find that to be a selfish position to take. There's too many people whose lives are hanging in the balance. So harm reduction is a real thing in electoral politics to me. Having said that, I really hope it's not Gavin Newsom. Really.
I swear to God, Jess and I don't trade notes. I just press live. And every time she comes on, it's a very lively conversation. So even when I ask her, what do you want to talk about? She goes, and it always works out. But and I'm prefacing this because Jess and I haven't discussed this, but just to let you know where I stand, Jess, and I think most people who watch Left Hook knows, but if they didn't, full transparency. 2016, Clinton was not my preferred choice. I like Bernie. When it was Clinton, I did everything in my power to put Clinton over the top over Trump because I knew how disastrous Trump would be. And I said, you know what, Clinton, she'll be fine. That's what I said. She'll be fine. And that's, harm reduction, lesser of two evils. I begged people to vote for her. Begged. 2020, Biden versus Bernie. I said, listen, white people, you tell us who's your chosen white grandpa. That's what people of color said. which white will the white people choose for that will defeat Donald Trump? You all said Biden. I said, fine. Biden's your chosen white. All in Biden. Have I ever been excited about Biden in my life? Never. My candidate in 2020, the one I really liked, even though I know she didn't have a chance, was Elizabeth Warren.
Mine too.
Yeah, because I thought she had refined Bernie's message and she made it more palatable. She was a bit more warm and open with it. And I just think she's razor sharp and smart. In 2024, I think Biden made a mistake by reneging, Jess. I think he hurt Kamala Harris. The three sins of the Biden administration, which are huge sins: Gaza, unforgivable; Merrick Garland, unforgivable; and screwing over Kamala Harris, unforgivable. He really screwed her. And then I gave him credit on the economic stuff. He really changed. But then I said, shit, if he's in the ring, I won't beat him up. I'll go vote for him. He's dropped out. Thank God. I'll do everything in my power for Kamala Harris because lesser of two evils. Now, what the Democratic Party says is, we know you're going to do that. We have you in a headlock. However, folks, I want to end on this to a point where Jess said, very important. We have 10 months. This is a generational moment that we have right now. This is it. Right now. Magic hour. This is it. Primary season. This is where you push these mother effers. You push them, you mold them, you chisel them, you punish them, you reward them, right? Politicians are tools. This is where we, and Anat said this also, she says, I think the Democratic Party is what it is. After 10 years, they're not going to change, but we can change them. And I think this is where we come in and we just put pedal to the metal and we go full blitzkrieg. And then inshallah, from this milieu, someone can emerge. I want to remind people, Jess, Zohran Mamdani, a year ago, when I interviewed him, a distant number 2 New York City assemblyman. Voila. Now the mayor of New York. Who would have thought?
And Barack Obama, too, came out of nowhere virtually, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You and I remember that. Came out of nowhere, and all of a sudden he racked up win after win after win, and Clinton's like, oh, boy. Jess, I kept you longer, but it was a lot of fun. There's 2,600 people watching. Can you shamelessly promote yourself?
I really don't want to. Waj, I want to promote you instead. You're so amazing. I will just say I have a newsletter called Chop Wood, Carry Water, which is on Substack, and you can follow me on social media where I do make quite a lot of videos these days at Jess Craven 101. And I just want to say that if there ever is any kind of like Substack awards for best like viral moment of pinning a politician down, you genuinely deserve it for that one. You had a moment and you chose it and you used it. It was really valuable because that is how we push these people towards our beliefs, and you did it. And so hats off to you, Waj. You are amazing. There's a reason people love you.
I appreciate it. But isn't it sad? I was telling my wife this. Isn't it? The bar was so low, Jen. It's like,
I know.
I shouldn't get any props. It's very kind of you. I'm also bad at it, but thank you. But I mean, it's the lowest bar in hell.
Yeah.
The lowest bar.
Yeah. That's where we are.
And the fact, unfortunately, they'll never come back. I wish they would. Hopefully, they'll go to Jess's podcast and then she'll corner them. That'll be great. They're like,
definitely not going to talk to me.
Thank you all. I've just put in the link for Jess. For those who missed us, we've been talking for the past hour, 2,600 people. It'll be up later today on my Substack and on Jess's Substack. No paywalls, folks. Subscribe to Jess. Give her money. If you have $3.75 left over, I have a special. It's $3.75 forever per month. But if you have no money, no paywalls, everything's free. Please subscribe, be informed, be kind, and please, oh, please don't be a fascist. Thank you, Jess, as always. I really
Thanks, Waj. See you next time.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
I'll text you the name right now.
Oh, I'm looking forward to it.